something I want to talk about, which does concern me quite a bit. And that is the mistrust of people in society. You see so many gossiping assholes, see a male teacher with in a school of female students, there could be something going on there. Male babysitters, he's probably a pedophile. All stuff like this. It's bullshit, Another one I see, which I think really, actually, I'm going to put a link in the description below, is people not mixing or not having anything to do with people who are not in their social group unless they are a relative. And I saw this with a video a woman made. She was, in her early 60s, reminded me much of my mum's friends, actually. And she was showing all these different solar cooker designs. And it was a brilliant video for people who are uninitiated in solar cookers. She went through basically all the major designs. I think the only one she didn't cover was Fresnel lens solar cookers. But, it was a fantastic video for the uninitiated in solar cookers. She explained, what you can expect to be able to cook and how the, reflective stuff works in this design as opposed to that design, and it was a great video. And then there was a whole sack of blokes in their early 20s in the comments, stupid old woman, old bag, blah, blah, blah. Just shit-canning her basically because she wasn't in the same social group as them. And I just felt like saying, shut up, you rotten little bastard. Listen and you might bloody learn something. It's just sort of big ass belief that it doesn't matter if the person's got something that could be useful to you, that may interest you, that is on a subject which, you would be interested to know about. But just because this person isn't in your social group, you're going to disregard them, regardless if they're talking on a subject that may interest you. That sort of stuff is just crap, And, I sort of see it sometimes amongst conspiracy theorists. And I know preppers do sort of break out of this a bit, not entirely, but they're a lot better than the conspiracy theorists I've come across, where, they hang around in their own social group and sort of just listen to people from their own social group. And it just reminds me of all the rainwater thing, You've got several million Aussies. I mean, there's 23.5 million Australians here, most of them living with rainwater catchment systems, and yet there's this disinformation spread by one American prepper talking to another American prepper. Meanwhile, there's millions of people who own these things, who have lived with these things. Some people have lived with them all their life in this country. And yet, due to lack of spreading into outside of your own group, you miss the truth and end up with disinformation. Or the information you do have is far more limited than what you could have by otherwise talking to foreigners, people not in your social group, other people who, may be leftist hippies that you don't really want to associate with because you're from a, Republican prepper background. But go and have a look, at this stuff. And if they're willing to show you, have a look at biogas equipment, have a look at solar cookers, have a look at solar house heaters and, solar water heaters and things like that. Because, it's information that you're otherwise going to miss out on. And the New World Order and Matrix, or whatever you want to call them, the whole circus there of those types that want to control the world, they love this, fear of your neighbour being a psycho, this fear of the school teacher being a pedophile, this sort of, it's basically divide and conquer, but they don't need to physically stand there in front of you with a gun dividing and conquering you. because what they do is, using media and manipulating people's fear and panic, they plant seeds of doubt, seeds of suspicion, fear, and next thing, it all just runs on from there, and you've divided and conquered yourself. And they love all this because how much of a organised resistance, Arab Spring style revolution, or, even though I don't recommend all this sort of stuff, even an armed revolution, how hard is it going to be to organise even something like an Arab Spring revolution if the whole lot of you are disenfranchised from each other, if you're all broken up into a million small groups, but none of you sort of are willing to participate with each other because, oh, she's a stupid old woman, or, oh, he's a 40-year-old bloke and I'm a teenage girl, so I don't talk to them ones, regardless of the fact we're both patriots, regardless of the fact that we are all looking for the same goal, which may be to, have the Federal Reserve Bank shut down or whatever. You've already divided and conquered yourself by division of social groups, and been so stuck in only your own social group that you're unable to connect with other groups to come together to form a large mass of people that, sock it to them and say, we want the Federal Reserve closed, or we want things to change, and we want it to be like this, because you're already all divided. And that suits them down to the ground when all this, suspicion of each other occurs, because you remain divided, and then you can't stand as one united against a corrupt banking system, a corrupt government, or some other circus. So yeah, I just thought I'd throw that up there because it's a terrible thing that's going on in today's society, and quite frankly, it makes us all look, well, we're acting as less than we could be.